Hey, it's me, Narrative, and I'm going to talk about the latest smash hit for the tokusatsu genre, Ultraman Rising. Ultraman Rising is a heartfelt love letter to the fans of the long-running franchise. Not only that, this film was released on Netflix near Father's Day, and it kind of makes sense. If you have a dad or are a dad, then you owe it to yourself to watch this film. It's that good. Now, you might be a bit overwhelmed with how the movie presents itself at the start. It isn't really your typical origin story. It kind of feels more like a sequel to an original series or some kind of legacy sequel, but good. I swear it's good. It's not Star Wars. It takes place with an Ultraman that has been hard at work for 20 years, and this Ultraman has decided to hand the reins over to his son, the protagonist Ken Sato, portrayed excellently by Christopher Sean. Ken Sato is a very flawed main character, but because of that, his growth shines through the trials and tribulations that he puts himself in. He starts off uncaring and, as the movie itself puts it, very egocentric, because the only thing that makes him happy now is the one thing that his mother left behind: baseball. Being Ultraman was simply something that tore their family apart. Ironically enough, it's the one thing that may bring them all together, as everything changes with a battle against the kaiju Gigantron. After a tense sky fight between Ultraman, the KDF, or the Kaiju Defense Force, and Gigantron, Ken discovers the first ever recorded Baby Kaiju. Personally, I am getting a bit sick of the baby characters, but Emmy, or the Baby Kaiju, is very adorable and plays a pivotal role in the story. And because of her, Ken slowly begins to understand what his parents went through when raising him. Sure, it was rough at the start, but as the movie goes on, you can see him grow because he wants to take care of the creature that fell into his hands. Furthermore, the kaiju also serves as a bridge that brings together Ken and his estranged father, Professor Sato. I also love how they portray this character, a pseudo-legacy character whose career as a hero essentially defined his entire life. But unlike every other legacy hero, he isn't a deadbeat loser who lost his love for heroism and doing the right thing. He's always constantly trying his best and giving his son space whenever he needs it. Whenever his son asks for a place of no judgment, he gives it, and that's just peak parenting. Another side character that I should speak on is Ami Wakita, a sports journalist who has taken a bit of an interest in Ken Sato's recent arrival to Japan. I love the fact that even though she and Ken have a bit of a spark between them, it's clear that this movie is simply content in having them be friends and connecting with their shared experience over their children. If there's one point I'd like to comment on, it's that her character does say too much about Ken's growth. It's nice to hear, but the audience can piece together that Ken is developing as a person. I kind of wish that more of that time was spent in just establishing Sato's connection to the KDF.
Level our defenses. Your family, mine, are in danger. Gigantron is coming. Gigantron is coming to you.
There are a ton of scenes and dialogue suggesting that Sato may have worked together with the current head of the KDF, Dr. Onda. Now, Dr. Onda is a good antagonist, not the greatest, and I'll get to why later on. He is meant to serve as a parallel to Sato, a man who simply couldn't save his family. His motivations are very well established and directly tie into the movie's themes regarding the importance of family to every character. However, it does kind of falter near the end of the movie with the cheap move that he did, but I'll get to that later on. The antagonistic force in the movie is the Kaiju Defense Force, or the KDF. I'll be honest, I'm a bit disappointed with this choice. Ooh, look, the humans were the real monsters. It's not particularly all that original. Granted, not every character here is cartoonishly evil. The captain and once again Dr. Onda were just doing what they thought was right. But everyone else kind of feels like they're a drone to a degree. I'm not mad with the choice. I personally just wanted more Kaiju versus Ultraman action, you know? Speaking of action, the visual language of the movie is a standout piece of work. A ton of the character designs feel inspired by early Japanese manga like Astro Boy and other similar works. The background shifts during intense scenes, and the aesthetic of these worlds kind of make me think of Shin Ultraman. There's also a ton of homages to several other Japanese media, such as Super Sentai or Power Rangers. The thing that brings the action home is the soundtrack. It's so good, especially the. Sadly, not everything about the movie is perfect. There are a few plot holes in it, though a large concern I have is how people might feel alienated by some of its concepts. As I've said before, it isn't an origin story. The most it gives you is the opening dialogue that explains how the mechanics of the world works. Even then, some aspects are a bit inconsistent, such as the color timer. Based on the explanations given in the movie, the way it works is confusing to me at least. Because they say that it requires focus to maintain. Well, I'm pretty sure in at least a few of these scenes, Ken was kind of focused. The way that I see it though, is that the timer actually works as a timer, although it can be bypassed with sufficient determination and focus. Another thing that kind of bothers me is the fact that Ultraman, in a particular scene, kind of forgot that he can fly. The entire sequence and the confrontation with the KDF is a fantastic scene, but there's a tiny part of my brain that's going, this could have been avoided if you flew over the city. And don't get me started on that. He literally flew out of the city to get Emmy to safety. Again, if you really start to think about some of the plot points, more cracks tend to appear. Like, I hate the fact that they essentially killed off Professor Sato twice, only for him to act as a deus ex machina near the end. Also, it annoys me how Dr. Onda just blew himself up near a heavily populated area. I know he just wanted to see his family and defeat the kaiju, but holy shit man, that's no excuse to get everyone else killed along the way. Also, this is a bit of a nitpick, but I kind of wish that the spatium beam... This is a bit of a nitpick, but I kind of wish that the spatium beam was executed with a bit more weight. I think that it was just too much of a blink and you'll miss it execution. Having the father and son do it together though was a nice touch. Now don't get me wrong, even with all of these flaws, this isn't a movie where I'd say you'd have to shut your brain off to enjoy it. It's a movie where feelings overcome thought, so to speak. Underneath its imperfections is a ton of heart. I really do hope that the trilogy gets greenlit because I want to see more of this world and especially how it reinterprets the Land of Light if the end credits are a sign of things to come. But for now, I think I'll try and get into more Ultraman shows. Mebius might be the next one I'm checking out since my sister got me this neat figurine of him. I wish the Ultraman shows were on Netflix though. I would really enjoy binge watching all of them. Overall, this movie wasn't perfect, but it didn't need to be. It just needed to be what's right for Ultraman. But you know what isn't right? What the fuck is this? Are you kidding me, people? How is Madam Web beating out Ultraman? What the fuck? There is no justice in this world! Ah!